and they just received the cell phone back from the family that they discovered with the blood on the phone. And clearly the picture of the phone show it's blood on it. The community is looking for you. We're turning over every stone. We'll leave no door locked or unopened until we find where you are. But at the end of the day, we want this brother to know we will not rest until you're held accountable for this crime. And this was a wicked crime and a crime against women and a crime against humanity.
Houston police responded to the discovery of a partial human body in Sam Houston National Forest, Montgomery County, Texas. Upon arrival, they already knew to whom it belonged. The woman had been missing for a year, and without waiting for forensic confirmation, they contacted her father to deliver the heartbreaking news. The woman was 24-year-old Felicia from San Diego, who had traveled to Houston for a visit. While there, she connected with a man through an online escort service. He had promised her $500 for their meeting, but she never got the chance to use that money because of what he did to her. This is the most disturbing story of 24-year-old Felicia Johnson. Felicia Johnson was born to Kevin Johnson and Felicia Lee Smith. As the oldest of 3 siblings, her parents' marriage ended in separation early in her childhood. The split left her father, Kevin, overwhelmed by the challenge of raising 3 teenagers alone. To cope, he remarried a woman named Myra, hoping she could help him manage the responsibilities of parenting and rebuilding their family. Felicia looked just like her grandmother on her dad's side, both in how she appeared and how she acted. They were both gentle, nice, always smiling, and most importantly, so pretty that many men admired them a lot, making them truly unforgettable. From childhood, Felicia understood how attractive she was and how much money her beauty could help her gain. Because of this, she chose to make her appearance the most important part of her life, always improving it daily. So with her family, she took great care of her face and body to look stunning in almost every picture.
Girl, let me fucking find out.
I've been seeing her for the past 3 days. Hasn't
She's looking real mother.
Well,
get all
say
these
nice.
photos and we have to pick on
Have
the
She had a clear dream and a strong vision of the life she wanted, and she was fully prepared to make the needed changes to reach her goal successfully. She was often spotted with long, flowing hair and thick, fluffy eyelashes, usually dancing with joy. She worked hard to turn her dream of becoming a model into reality, staying dedicated every single day, never giving up on herself. Sadly for her, this dream did not turn out the way she had hoped because of what happened to her on one fateful day. One day in April 2022, Felicia had just celebrated her 24th birthday, and since her family lived in San Diego, it was easy for many of her relatives and friends to gather and celebrate with her. In this picture, Felicia is seen hugging her beloved grandmother, a heartfelt moment cherished by everyone. However, for Felicia, that wasn't enough. She longed for even more excitement and wanted the celebration to continue. So she decided to treat herself to a special and luxurious trip to Houston, eager to experience new adventures and unforgettable memories. So she spent plenty of time getting ready for the trip, carefully selecting beautiful items and packing a variety of stylish outfits. Along the way, she considered the possibility of seizing any opportunities that might come her way while in Houston. With this in mind, she prepared thoroughly, hoping that if a great opportunity arose, she could extend her stay beyond what she had originally planned, making the most of her journey. But she didn't realize that this journey would take an unexpected and unimaginable turn. Now, with everything packed and her family fully aware of her travel plans, Felicia set off from San Diego and arrived safely in Houston. Once there, she embraced every moment, making the most of her experience and enjoying her stay to the fullest. Throughout her time in Houston, she kept in touch with her family and close friends, sharing both the joyful and challenging moments she encountered along the way. But on April 13, 2022, the phone calls suddenly stopped. Even worse, Felicia Johnson was no longer replying to messages. And, most worrying of all, she completely stopped posting on social media. This was a big concern because Felicia always shared updates online, especially when visiting new places. We took the time to look through her social media accounts, especially her Instagram, and confirmed that this was true. Felicia always posted at least one picture whenever she traveled to a new place, including her trip to Houston, which made her sudden silence very strange and concerning. But this was not the most shocking part. Another concerning sign was that Felicia's father always felt anxious when she wasn't with him, and she knew this very well. That's why she constantly updated him. For this reason, she would never have intentionally stopped calling or responding to his messages, making the situation even more troubling. Now, 2 days went by, and Felicia's family still hadn't heard from her. Their worry grew stronger, filling them with fear, which led them to hire a private investigator in Houston to help find her. Without delay, the investigator traced her phone's last known location to a place called Bear Creek, a wooded area in Houston, hoping to uncover any clues about her disappearance. And it's here they found Felicia's phone. But it was not like a phone someone dropped accidentally. Felicia's phone was found plastered with traces of blood, so the private investigator called back informed Johnson about the shocking discovery. The discovery confirmed the family's worst fears, and Kevin Johnson, Felicia's father, didn't hesitate. He immediately boarded a plane to Houston, determined to find his daughter and uncover the truth about her disappearance. When Kevin arrived in Houston, he went straight to the Houston Police Department. While filing another missing person report, he strongly criticized the officers for their slow response and lack of seriousness, believing they were not giving the case proper attention because of Felicia's skin color, which deeply frustrated him. In fact, Johnson went live in this video, detailing exactly what happened when he stepped foot in Houston.
I arrived here in Houston on April 16th, 2022, at which time I immediately began trying to find any leads in the disappearance of my daughter and seeking help from the Houston Police Department. Nevertheless, it took approximately 5 days before Houston PD would begin to investigate Felicia's disappearance.
This time, the police decided to take action as the case gained more attention. Their first destination was Bear Creek Park, the last known location of Felicia's phone. However, the search quickly became difficult due to the dense trees and winding, impassable roads leading in different directions. The situation was even more complicated by the uncertainty of how the phone ended up there. There was a chance it had been tossed from a moving car, as it was discovered near the edge of the road, making the investigation even more challenging. But not only that, another challenge that made the search even more difficult was the police's decision to keep it low profile. They believed the suspect might be a local resident who could interfere with the investigation if too much attention was drawn to the case. Additionally, the number of officers sent to Bear Creek was too small for such a demanding task. There was also a noticeable lack of motivation, as many of them didn't expect to find anything, even though they hoped they were mistaken. In the end, their fears were confirmed. It was a fruitless search, leaving more questions than answers. This setback was devastating for the Johnson family, but they refused to lose hope. Kevin remained determined to find his daughter, no matter what it took.
Man, I'm just trying to keep myself together. I'm hoping that she's alive. These people are young adults and they just living their life. Nobody's perfect, and sometimes people make mistakes. I'm running off of pure faith and just not giving up on her, that we're gonna get her back. I think she got caught up in one of those sex trafficking, human trafficking situations where they are snatching up these out-of-town girls and putting them to work. That's what I think happened to her. I'm gonna be here as long as I can, and just in hopes that something positive comes out of this.
He began by putting up flyers and spreading images of Felicia everywhere. Each flyer included details about her appearance, describing her as Latina with dark skin, brown eyes, standing 5'5", tall, weighing 68 kg, and having a distinct tattoo of butterflies and roses on her right shoulder. Doing this, Kevin was not alone. A social activist and leader of the new Black Panther Nation, Quanell X, joined him, raising it as an important issue and bringing it to the public's attention.
Felicia has not been seen since. No cell phone activity, no credit card activity, no social media activity. She has absolutely just vanished off the face of the earth. We know that she's a victim of foul play. We need help in finding her.
In the past 5 months, 4 dark-skinned girls who had attempted meetups for money had gone missing and were later found dead. This happened because authorities often delayed investigations when the cases were first reported. Following the activist's speech on April 20, the police finally decided to step up their search efforts. Also, locals who came across the flyers carefully read the details and became more alert. Community members quickly organized search groups, and before long the entire neighborhood, along with the FBI, joined in the efforts to find her. Despite all the intensified efforts, the only new piece of evidence they uncovered was Felicia's purse, and not a single clue of Felicia's body. The detectives worked on building a timeline of Felicia's last activities to track her possible movements. They interviewed her family and close friends, especially those she spoke to often, and this is when something shocking was known. During their investigation, they discovered that after spending a few days in Houston, Felicia had applied for a job as an adult entertainer at a club called Cover Girls, located in Northwest Houston.
So the Cover Girls nightclub right here behind me was the last place where Felice Johnson was last seen. Now, Houston police tell us that detectives returned back here to this area, and her father is hoping that the surveillance video from inside the building will reveal who left with his daughter.
It was clear that Felicia had come to Houston with a plan. She was open to new opportunities and had even packed extra belongings, hoping to extend her stay if the right chance came along. So the detectives rushed to Cover Girls, asking everyone up to the club management. The club management confirmed that Felicia had applied for a job, but her application was rejected, which cleared the club of any involvement in Felicia's disappearance. Detectives then discovered that shortly after leaving the club, she booked a taxi. From that moment on, there was no further information about her whereabouts, deepening the mystery of her disappearance. But soon enough, that information from the club was pieced together with another, and detectives realized that Cover Girls wasn't the last place Felicia had visited before she went missing. As they dug deeper, they were on the verge of uncovering a major breakthrough in the case. In the early hours of April 16, 2022, around 3 a.m., Felicia was reportedly seen returning to the Houston Medical Center hotel where she had been staying. This new lead allowed the police to trace her movements more clearly, helping them reconstruct the events leading up to even more scary discovery. Right after being rejected at the club, Felicia called a taxi, but for some reason it was delayed. During this time, an unknown man offered her a ride. After a brief moment of consideration, she decided to go with him. The man eventually dropped her off at the hotel where she was staying. But while discovering this information, the detectives learned something more before Felicia decided to apply for a job at Cover Girls. She had posted an ad on an online escort service and had begun receiving responses. However, one response stood out, a message from a 28-year-old Nigerian-American man named Chukwuebuka Nwabodo, who was based in Houston. Felicia and Nwabodo had started chatting, and before long, they arranged an intimate meeting for a fee of $500. After that, all traces of Felicia disappeared, as if she had vanished without a trace. It now became evident why the police initially didn't treat the case with urgency. A woman who agreed to meet a man for money was not seen as a priority in their eyes, making her disappearance seem less important to them. But now they were discovering more shocking details. The police were able to find out that Nwabodo had arranged for an Uber driver to pick Felicia up from her location and drop her off at the 3200 block Windchase Boulevard apartment complex, where he had lived from 2017 to 2020. It remains unclear why Nwabodo chose to have her taken to his former residence instead of his current one. However, once she arrived, he personally picked her up and drove her to his actual apartment on South Richmond Avenue. Then, an hour later, surveillance cameras captured Chukwuebuka's car leaving his residence. Around the same time, Felicia's phone was traced to a cell tower near Bear Creek Park. At the same time, police reviewed a surveillance footage. On April 16, surveillance footage showed Nwabodo at a home goods store purchasing garbage bags, gloves, a flashlight, a shovel, an electric kitchen saw, and a towel. The following day, April 17, he was spotted visiting a clinic to treat a cut he had sustained. This suggested that he hadn't disposed of the body right away, but instead took time to dismember it, making it easier to transport and conceal. These details strongly suggested that the crime was premeditated. However, what happened next was even more shocking, taking the investigation in an unexpected direction. But on May 13, 2022, during a routine traffic stop, an ordinary man was arrested and detained for traffic offenses. But officers also found highly suspicious items in his possession, including a pistol, latex gloves, a shovel, and dried bloodstains. Despite these alarming discoveries, he was quickly released hours later. The police claimed they lacked sufficient evidence to hold him any longer. Meanwhile, an investigation on the Nwobodo was still going on, and soon detectives confirmed that Nwobodo had ordered the taxi for Felicia. He immediately became their prime suspect, thus securing a search warrant to his house. But investigators found blood splatters in Nwobodo's bedroom, which were sent for forensic analysis. The results revealed a heartbreaking truth. The blood belonged to Felicia.
Uncovered some new information in the murder of Felicia Johnson.
Nearly 2 months since she was last seen, her remains still have not been found. Now new court documents show how investigators linked a suspect to her murder.
Good morning, Erica and Jeff. We're live here from where Felicia Johnson was last seen alive. It's the outcome that no one wanted, and the gruesome details in the new charging documents accuse the suspect of doing extensive research to try and cover up her murder. Friends and family last heard from Johnson back on April 15. According to Uber records, investigators subpoenaed about a week later. They say the suspect, Chuabuka Nwobodo, was the one who requested the ride for Johnson from her hotel to his apartment. Police say records show that on the 16th and 17th, he bought a number of supplies from Walmart and Home Depot, including a flashlight, shirt, gloves, saws, trash bags, and towels. Later that day on the 16th, a family friend found Johnson's phone at Bear Creek Park covered in blood. On May 13th, HPD conducted a search warrant where they say they found blood, weapons, receipts, and supplies in the suspect's car, as well as Johnson's DNA and blood in his apartment.
The amount of blood present suggested that survival was nearly impossible. However, the discoveries didn't stop there. What the detectives uncovered next made the case even more disturbing. While searching inside Nwobodo's house, detectives came across a phone that had been left behind. At first, they weren't sure who it belonged to, but they knew it could be a crucial piece of evidence in the case. Meanwhile, investigators began analyzing his phone and searching his apartment. What they uncovered would finally expose the dark and chilling truth behind Felicia's mysterious disappearance. As they dug deeper, they examined his phone's search history, and what they found was disturbing. His recent searches included how to become a serial killer, can bleach destroy DNA, the most wooded part of Houston, how to get away with murder, and places to live for as low as $1,000. With this disturbing evidence in hand, investigators now had a clear prime suspect and a definitive target in their search for justice. At this point, investigators began reviewing Nwobodo's documented criminal history, and that's when they realized their grave mistake. Remember the man who was arrested for a traffic violation but later released, even after police found shovels and other suspicious items in his car? That man was Chukwubuka Nwobodo. The police, on realizing that, they began the search again, but it was already too late. Nwobodo had vanished without a trace. The detectives were filled with regret, realizing that if they had been just a little more patient when they had him in custody, these new discoveries would have ensured he was already behind bars. On one hand, the findings marked a significant breakthrough in the case. On the other hand, they served as a devastating reality check for the Johnson family, confirming that they would never see Felicia again. In an effort to track Nwobodo down, authorities announced a $5,000 reward for anyone with information leading to his arrest. But despite the progress in the case, still Felicia's body had yet to be found, and her loved ones continued to hold onto hope, praying that she would be recovered so they could at least give her a proper burial. A whole year passed with no new developments, but their long wait was finally nearing its end then. In February 2023, the police received a tip about a decomposing half-human body discovered in the Sam Houston National Forest. Given the location where it was found, officers immediately suspected it was Felicia. Without conducting any forensic testing, they hastily informed Kevin Johnson, raising his hopes that his daughter's remains had finally been found. A test was eventually conducted, and the results confirmed what the police had suspected. It was indeed the upper torso of Felicia Marie Johnson, and at the time of posting this video, the other part of Felicia's body had been found. For Kevin Johnson, the discovery brought mixed emotions. He was devastated that his daughter's death was now confirmed, yet somewhat relieved that she could finally be laid to rest with dignity. The thought of never finding her at all would have been an even greater torment. With the support of social activist Quanell X and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Felicia was given a proper and respectful burial, bringing a bittersweet closure to her tragic story. Kevin Johnson, burdened by grief and anger, vowed to hunt down Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, even if it cost him his life.
We want the suspect to know that the no snitch policy will never protect you in our community, that we are coming for you, we're looking for you, and we'll leave no stone unturned in trying to find out your whereabouts.
His determination for justice was unwavering. To this day, Nwobodo remains unconvicted. Whether he has managed to stay under the radar or has continued his crimes elsewhere is unknown. What is certain, however, is that justice is long overdue, and we can only hope he is caught soon. As we uncover the chilling details of Felicia Marie Johnson's case, one pressing question lingers. What drove Chukwuebuka Nwobodo to commit such a brutal act, especially when he could afford the $500 fee? Could this be the work of a serial killer hiding in plain sight? The search for Nwobodo continues, and while we wait for answers, we would love to hear your thoughts on this case. Leave them in the comments section below.